For coaches, what is one of the easiest ways to scale up your coaching business? Usually, that would be making the move from one to one coaching to group coaching. But it's not always an easy move to make, and group coaching is a little different. And there are some things that potentially put people off group coaching, and it may not even be right for everybody. But in this episode of the Coaching Clinic, I want to have a little talk about group coaching, some of the differences, and some of the reasons why you may want to be considering it as the next step to your coaching business to help you scale things up. Welcome to the Coaching Clinic with John and Angie.
The show for professional coaches who want to develop their skills and grow their business.
Follow the show on your favorite podcast app.
And join us every Wednesday for new episodes.
So welcome to the show. And this week is just me and talking about group coaching. Angie will be back with us very soon. I'm happy to share with you that we're just doing some solo episodes to try things out. We'd love to hear from you if you'd rather just hear us both together, or if you like the solo stuff, you get to hear from us both individually sometimes as well. Your feedback really helps us design the show for you and make sure we're delivering what you really want. However, today we're talking about group coaching, and it has been something that I've been doing for most of my professional coaching career. Now, I started coaching way back in 2000, 2001, somewhere around there. And whilst I was learning to be a coach, I was really just doing one-to-one sessions like most people. So we nearly all start off with that. But selling one-to-one coaching can be a lot more challenging. Keeping people in one-to-one coaching programs can also be challenging. And when a one-to-one coaching client leaves, they have to be replaced. And replacing one-to-one clients sometimes is a little more challenging. You definitely feel the absence if there's gaps in your schedule. One of the things that group coaching can do for you is give you a lot more time back, because group coaching potentially is going to allow you to deliver something still special for your clients, but to do it in a way where everyone can be in a group together. Your time is more leveraged. It doesn't need to be that group coaching should be considered cheaper than one-to-one coaching, because there's a lot of value in group coaching that I'll share with you what people in my group coaching sessions have often said about being in a group coaching program. But certainly one of the reasons why you may really want to consider it is because it will allow you to keep a more constant flow of people coming in. So you may not even need to audition people who are coming into your group coaching. You can help them self-qualify before they come in. But because you won't be working with them so much in one-to-one as in a group format, it may be easier to have them in the group and not need to qualify them quite so thoroughly as you might want to when you're working more personally, more intimately, which one-to-one definitely is. Group coaching can also allow you to scale up because you do get more time back. So whether you want to keep doing one-to-one to keep your hand in at that and maybe scale up your pricing for one-to-one coaching, make it a little more exclusive, or just run more group coaching sessions and additional back-end products and services that can also allow you to keep scaling up. One thing's for sure, you need to be able to free up some time in order to be able to do that. So if your calendar currently is completely chock-a-block with one-to-one sessions, first of all, good for you. And you probably also find that it doesn't leave you a lot of time for other things, and it may even be really exhausting. So good in some senses, good problem to have. But where do you go from here? Where do you scale up? What I particularly like about coaching is that we're not like a massage business where you can't really do group massage. I haven't heard of it. Maybe it is a thing, but it is hard to scale up with group massage. It's hard to do massage online. It would be hard to scale up that kind of business. Not that there aren't ways of doing that, but it's certainly more challenging to do. Scaling up coaching with groups is a lot easier because you can invite people in. But you are likely to meet resistance from some people, at least. Some people will like group coaching, some people may not, or may be resistant to it at first. And some of the reasons are this: if you are working with someone on very vulnerable, intimate issues in their lives, they may not be open to group coaching for starters. And it may not be appropriate to move into group coaching in that way as well if people are going to feel too exposed and too vulnerable on the call. So you have to judge that based on the kind of coaching that you do. But if you are a business coach, particularly, or you're working in areas that aren't quite so sensitive generally, then it certainly is a lot easier for you to do that. But resistance can still come up from some people about being with other people that they may not have the trust with that they have for you and being capable to share. So it does come on to you as the coach, as the leader, to frame this in the right way. Make sure everyone does feel safe and trust on the call. There's a level of psychological safety on the call that you have to hold the space for so that people do feel safe to share and to trust each other and to know they're in the same boat. And whilst you are hopefully also not really asking them to share stuff that is too personal on the call. Now, group coaching can come with challenges, but there's lots of good things in it. So let's talk about some of the good things first. It can be great for people to hear what's going on with other people, how they're handling it, because it gives them more options. It can perhaps expose them to new ideas and new ways of thinking about things that they can transpose themselves in, or they can find ways to relate other people's stories and challenges to themselves and their own life. We're very good at making those kinds of connections. There's potentially even a little more accountability for completing action commitments and keeping your growth and development going when there is a community that supports you and is also there for you to check in with on a regular basis. It's something that can also allow friendships to develop because you're all in a group together and you'll feel connected. It can encourage people to show up more consistently for their coaching sessions because they know the kinds of people who are going to be on the call and they get used to connecting with them and showing up together. It can give you the opportunity for additional group events that you might want to invite these particular groups to come and join in with. So these are just some of the positive benefits for your clients that I think can help them with their growth and development. So I don't think group coaching necessarily takes anything away other than perhaps an environment where you might be more able to share stuff that is deeply vulnerable and that wouldn't be appropriate to share in a group setting where you're not one to one with a coach in a what we call it in a closed environment. But the advantages are significant. And they probably go way beyond that. I think there's a lot more encouragement that we get when we're with a group of other people doing something. We're not just on our own anymore. Certainly, many of us now work in very isolated circumstances as online entrepreneurs. These are elements of community that we get to have as well and check in where we are still in contact with other people. Even if you're going to be just doing this virtually, which probably most of us are, it still feels like a great bit of connection with other people that can help you to grow and develop. So for the coach, some of the benefits of this are clearer. You do get more time back for yourself. You do get to leverage yourself more effectively. You don't have to charge any less for group coaching, and you can deliver messaging that can be for everybody based on one person's problem. So you don't not necessarily just going to address that one thing specifically. You're going to get to address things on a wider level, take broader perspectives where people aren't going to feel that it's necessarily aimed at them personally, but they can relate into it and make the connections. You are going to be responsible for the energy of the group as well. You lead the group, you are the energy of the group. So you are still elevated in a position above your group where you are responsible for maintaining the integrity and the energy of your group sessions. And one thing I'll share with you from when I very first started being trained in group coaching with the Harv Eker organization was that there is a level of energy that has to be a little higher with group coaching sessions than with one to one. One to one sessions can be very relaxing. Some people's energy is naturally high, and that's great, and that can work very well. Not everyone is going to work well with that energy, but those who do will be great. And those who don't may want something a little more low key. But in group settings, especially online group settings, we need to turn up the energy. Not super high, but it needs to be a little higher than it would normally be, than it would naturally be, which means you need to be a little more energized. You probably need to use more vocal variety when you are on your calls. You probably need to have the happy bits, have the more stable and solid bits, the serious parts as well, and have a little bit of a mix there so that there are different speeds in the call and different moments for reflection. I think as well, it can be really valuable to have people doing writing exercises. And it's hard to do that in one to one calls because it just feels like dead air. But in group calls, having some writing music that you can play during your group calls and set writing exercises for people and have people come in and check in, that's a really powerful tool and one of my favorite things about doing group calls, because it really does give people the opportunity to have an idea about where they're heading and take some time to reflect and develop and come up with more specific things so we can explore options and make decisions as to where we'd like to be heading, what we want to be committing to. So it can be really powerful, but it's hard to do group exercises in a one-to-one setting and use the same format. It would feel weird, I think, for most coaches to put music on whilst your client is writing during a session if you are just one-to-one with each other. So there are formats that you can use here, frameworks that make it easier to stay on a particular path for a call. You may want to use pretty much the same framework for each of your calls or similar frameworks, or depending on if you are taking people through a more specific program that works on different elements each week, then you might want to play with those elements. But it does mean you can set the frame for the call before they happen, and you can keep those frames for continuance, because group calls you can keep running and running, so people can repeat a cycle or you can bring in new people at various points in the cycle depending on the kind of program that you're running. The energy piece, though, is super critical. And I will say this, I came very close to not becoming a group coach because I struggled to get my energy up to a level that was suitable for the content that I was being asked to deliver. So you do have to be able to have some energetic flexibility and bring a bit of, I don't know, excitement, motivation, things like that to your coaching sessions. And it doesn't need to be huge, it just needs to be that bit more. It needs to be motivating. It needs to be helping people along, just less relaxed and more action focused than a one to one call will often be. Group coaching calls as well can be much better, much easier places to upsell or to introduce additional products and services that you might have on offer or events, because it's easier to announce things to a group than it is to an individual. With individuals in your coaching programs, you might prefer to do announcements by email or by text message, depending on how you normally contact people, rather than during their sessions. But in group coaching calls, it certainly feels more natural to share announcements, share what's going on with people, and get feedback and updates. There are things you need to be careful of with that. And I'll say that some of the challenges that I've had in group coaching may come up for you as well. I've had people come into groups who are disruptive. And so there's several ways of being disruptive in group coaching. One is somebody who wants all the attention and wants to treat group coaching like a private coaching session. They are the kind of people who you may want to approach and say, I think we may be better off to have private one-to-one coaching than group, because it seems like you need some additional help or you seem to have lots and lots of questions. This might be something best addressed in one-to-one coaching. You must protect the group as well. Everyone needs to be able to have their opportunity to participate. So you may want to encourage that people do show up live on the calls and that they submit questions. Now, I tend to go a way of initially with new groups, particularly, I will points where we are coming for questions. I'll say something like, "Who has the first question?" Which could be a great way to start. But if I don't get a response to that, and it could happen, especially with new groups where they're not comfortable yet, where they haven't fallen into the habits and familiarity of the group, you may need to select people. And you need to do it nicely as well. Just be clear from people from the start. If I don't get hands up here, I will come and select somebody. it's rare that they won't actually come and share, but you can't let the space sit for too long. And so you just say, if I don't see hands up, I'm going to come and select people. You may start to see some hands come up, and even then you may need to still select people because you might only get 1 or 2. And if you want 3 or 4 shares, you have to choose a few more people. Do try and come to different people. So if it's always the same people putting their hands up, you must acknowledge that you see the hands up. Say, I see your hands up, but I want to make sure we get shares from different people as well, that everyone gets a chance to participate. So I'm going to come to this person, even though you haven't got your hand up. What's your response to this? What did you write down in the writing exercise? This is another great part with the writing exercises, because if you're doing this after they've done some writing, then they have something they can read out. Everyone has answers to the questions, even if they're not expecting to actually put their hand up and read them out on the call. So I find that can be a very useful way of managing group coaching calls. But I hope for you that these thoughts do give you some ideas about how to be able to run group coaching and how to be able to scale up one-to-one coaching into your groups. You can frame the opportunities and the value of group coaching for your one-to-one clients as you start to make those transitions. And I would often say this to them: if you are a coach who is looking to make a move from one-to-one into group, encourage your one-to-one clients into this. Give them some free trials of group coaching so they can check it out. And if they don't like it, they can leave it alone. If they enjoy it or they love it, they can swap into the group coaching program. And you can let them know you'll be happy to stay with them one-to-one if they really hate it, but you're looking to move people into group coaching, and you want them to at least have the opportunity to have the experience of group coaching and see if it might be beneficial for them. Certainly for business coaches, it can be, especially if you have a very specific target group of clients, that there will come up opportunities for them to collaborate together, for them to network and develop deeper friendships. So I think there's a lot you can encourage people to at least give it a try as you look to make those transitions. But certainly as you bring newer clients in, you may want to look at bringing them directly into group coaching and potentially making your one-to-one, if you're still going to offer it, that bit more exclusive. All right, those are my thoughts on group coaching. If you have questions about group coaching or about my experiences with group coaching, Angie as well, we'll be happy to answer them, and you can certainly get in touch with us. But I hope that you will at least consider making the move from one-to-one to group, because it's going to give you a lot more opportunity to do more, even if that's just having more time with your family or more time to rest and relax and enjoy your life. These are all good opportunities for us. Let's close the doors on the coaching clinic for this week.
Do you have a question for the coaching clinic?
Reach out on LinkedIn to connect with Angie and John.
Leave us a voicemail or video message and we will feature you on the show.
You can also leave up to 90-second voicemail for free on www.speakpipe.com/the Coaching Clinic podcast.
We'd love to hear from you.
See you next time.
Bye for now.